Let's look at question number 7. Question number 7 says a vertical peg is attached to the edge of a horizontal disc of radius r as shown in figure 4.1. So we have a vertical peg, vertical disc, and the peg is attached over here. The disc rotates at a constant angular speed omega. The horizontal beam of parallel light produces a shadow of the peg on a screen as shown in figure 4.2. So we have a parallel beam of light. There is a peg. It is going round uh, in some anti-clockwise circle. That's what the omega arrow direction is telling us. At time 0, the peg is at P, producing a shadow on the screen at S, which means at t equals to 0, the shadow was at the equilibrium position. This was at t equals to 0, which tells us the equation should be given by sine omega t ratio. Determined in terms of omega and t, the angle theta. Theta is very simple. Theta equals to omega t. You just write that. And then in terms of omega t r, the distance sq. Now sq is basically the displacement from the equilibrium. This is our sq distance, which is x. They didn't reuse the term x over here, so we're going to stick to the equation expression sq equals to. Now what you need to understand that the radius of the disk is r, which means whenever the peg will reach to the highest position, this distance would be also r, which means the maximum displacement of the shadow from the s positions. In the position, this can be plus r. On the lowest position, this can be minus r. So these are the two different variable of maximum positions that we can get. This is minus r. So r is in this case our amplitude. So sq can be given as r sine omega t. Is the same equation as what we have learned earlier. Our general expression for displacement was given by x equals to a sine omega t. I just improvised in this scenario by observing the motion on the given figure to conveniently replace the variables as the question has given us. In this case, the displacement was represented by sq, and the amplitude of the motion was represented by the radius of the circle. So that is given by r. And then the question B says, use your answer to A2 to show that the shadow on the screen performs simple harmonic motion. Now, the simple way to prove any motion is simple harmonic motion is to somehow be able to represent that acceleration of the object is negatively proportional to displacement, a proportional to minus x. If you can somehow come up to this expression, you would know that the motion is simple harmonic motion. So what we can do over here, if I was writing the answer for this question, I'm going to write let so I will bring about the concept. I'll bring about the variable x over here, and then I'm going to write two different lines. Therefore, velocity equals to dx by dt equals to r omega cos omega t semicolon. Therefore, acceleration equals to dv by dt equals to minus omega square r sine omega t equals to minus omega square x. You can just write this over here. Ultimately, we get a equals to minus constant into x brings about a proportional to minus x. So SHM. That's how I would write the answer, just showing a simple mathematical derivation that we are going to define that displacement first. We're going to find out the first derivative with respect to time, which is the velocity. Then we're going to find out the second derivative with respect to time, which is the acceleration. And then I have written this Ward equation that acceleration is now expressed as this way, minus into constant into x. So we get a proportional to minus x. That's basically how we define it. It's a simple harmonic motion. There's not much to it. You just have to somehow come up with this expression that any motion, if it can be explained with this relationship, that is defined to have simple harmonic motion. The rest of the two questions are actually pretty simple. Number C says the disc has a radius r of 12 centimeter and is rotating with an angular speed omega 4.7 radians per second. Remember for the shadow on the screen, the frequency of oscillation. Frequency of oscillation is pretty simple. Omega is given by 2 pi f. So you place all these values, you get the number. Maximum speed of the object, Vmax, we have seen earlier, is given by plus minus omega a. A in this case is what was the amplitude. In this case, we wouldn't write a because we haven't used a anywhere in this expression. So I'd rather recommend that we write Vmax equals to plus minus omega r. So you just place the value of omega from here. You place the r of 2 centimeter from here. Make sure to convert everything. Make sure to place the r value in centimeter because the final answer is expected in centimeter per second unit. Have a look at the expected unit. So since they are expecting the speed in centimeter per second, so don't bother to convert the centimeter into meter. And then you calculate the whole thing. You don't have to write the plus or minus sign. I wrote the plus or minus sign to give you an idea that this was the expression for velocity, the maximum velocity. It can be plus or minus, it can be upward or downward. But if you're looking for speed, you can pretty well get rid of the plus or minus. So which is also perfectly makes sense. So that's basically it. If you have any question, please ask me. I'm gonna slowly show some solution of these problems, which I feel that do require some observation. For example, 8b is one of these questions which is pretty interesting and conceptually somewhat challenging. Have a look at question number 8b. In 8a, we have just 3 definitions. Be sure to know these definitions properly with the proper set of wording that the examiners like to see. Have a look at the MR schemes if you want to get some exact words. I leave this question in your hands. B number, let's have a look at for B. In B, it says 2 inclined planes RA and LA each have the same constant gradient. They meet at their lower edges as shown in figure 3.1. A small ball moves from rest down plane RA and then rises up plane LA. It then moves down plane LA and rises up plane RA to its original height. The motion repeats itself. The question says it is moving up to its original height, which means we have no energy loss. The motion repeats itself, which means it is a periodic motion. State and explain whether the motion of the ball is simple harmonic or not. Now, what all of you need to understand that for any motion, the idea offers any simple motion to simple harmonic motion is that motion should be expressed by this relationship, a proportional to minus x. Acceleration should be negatively proportional to displacement, which means acceleration of the object and the displacement of the object should be exactly working in opposite direction to each other. In some cases, in some few cases, we consider this a bit of generalization, and sometimes we go for a little bit of standardization as well. For which for example, sometimes we do consider the motion of a simple pendulum to be simple harmonic, considering the arc as a straight line. But in this case, this is not the scenario. I'll tell you why. This motion looks back and forth. It looks periodic, but this motion will not be governed by this expression. Let me show you why. The A is the lowest point of this motion. Now, what you need to see, if weight of the object is working this way, and there is an angle over here, let's say theta, we can do and if I try to draw a vertical line over here, along this line we would have W cos theta working. Along this line we'll have W sin theta working. This is just very basic, dividing the W force into 2 perpendicular components. What you need to understand that for the entire motion of the ball, no matter where it is on the plank AR, this W sin theta value would always remain same. Try to appreciate this information. Whether your ball is over here, if this is W sin theta, if the ball is right over here, if it is over here, if it is over here, this W sin theta, the magnitude of this force is actually not changing. And basically force equals to MA. So this whole expression equals to ma. So if we just divide this by the acceleration, by the mass of the ball, you get the acceleration. What I'm trying to show you is that the acceleration is always aiming towards the a point. That's true. Whenever the ball is on the right side plane, acceleration is aiming towards this point. Whenever it's on the left side of this whole plank scenario, the acceleration is aiming towards the a point. Acceleration will be always aiming towards the center point. That's okay. But is it having a continuous value variation as x becomes different? That answer is a solid no, because you will always have a certain fraction of weight to work as your driving force for this system. It might appear to be simple harmonic motion, but it is not simple harmonic motion since acceleration is not changing for the entire motion. It is always remaining the same. Whereas the whole concept of simple harmonic motion is that the further the object is from the equilibrium position, the stronger or the bigger the acceleration value should be. So that's why this motion cannot be defined as simple harmonic motion. This is the key drawing that I'm showing you to explain how it works. You have to be able to write that thing in appropriate wording for this answer. So কোনোভাবে তোমাকে এটা গুছায় এখানে এখানে লেখা লাগবে। So ওয়ার্ডিংটা যেরকম হতে পারে, if I was answering this question, I would write it this way. I would draw this angle theta on the question and write up these two components, W sin theta and W cos theta, on the question, and also the W. I would draw this much, and then I would write W sin theta is the force that causes the ball to move back to position A. This force magnitude always remains constant for any position of the ball on plank AR or plank AL. So A proportional to x minus x, this is not followed. Hence the motion is not simple harmonic. So I would emphasize on the fact that the force that is responsible to cause this object to move is remaining constant. It is not having a gradual change as displacement is becoming a variable. And that's how I would write the answer. Let's have a look at the mark scheme to find out what they have for us. This is question number 8B. It says acceleration is constant in magnitude, so cannot be SH. So they only gave these two expressions. They didn't go for any derivation for that, but I would preferably draw this up and write in my own words. The examination says that most candidates assumed quite wrongly that it was simple harmonic motion because the motion was always acting towards a fixed point. However, the motion was not simple harmonic because the acceleration of the ball had a constant magnitude. So yeah, this is pretty much it. You can choose not to draw these parts. I mean, I just told you that if I was answering this question, I would draw it in this manner and use these variables in my expression to give a proper lineup for of my thinking, that why I think that the motion would not be simple harmonic motion, so on and so forth. Any questions so far? বুঝা গেছে number 8 beta?
Yes, sir.
আচ্ছা, এখানে আচ্ছা, আমি কোশ্চেন নাম্বার 9টা অ্যাকচুয়ালি খুবই সিম্পল একটা কোশ্চেন। 9 সিটা নিয়ে আমি একটু আলাপ করতে যাচ্ছি। এটা একটু বোঝার জিনিস আছে। 9 সিটা আলাপ করার জন্য আমি বাকিগুলো একটু জাস্ট বলে যাই। Question number 9 says a long strip of springy steel is clamped to one end so that the strip is vertical. A mass 65 grams is attached to the free end up to the strip, as shown in figure 2.1. This is the mass. This is string steel, and whenever we are placing it in this manner, this object is starting to move. Now, the question that we have, just a second, I need to put my It says that the mass undergoes simple harmonic motion. Explain what is meant by damping. So you have to explain properly the concept of gradual energy loss from the system for the damping case. Such to the reason whether the damping is light, critical, or heavy. So you have to observe from this figure, and you have to determine from this figure that what kind of damping do we have, or do we have any damping at all. What you should see that when the motion starts, this motion was happening at plus 1.5 meter per meter. This was the initial displacement. As the object slowly kept on moving, you should see that uh, the crests are slowly losing their value. The crests and troughs are slowly becoming less, which means this is a case of uh, under damping, because you're losing energy slowly, not at a very fast rate like critical damping or over damping. So this is under damping. The question says that suggest with the reason whether the damping is light, critical, or heavy. So you can write it's light damping, which is basically another name for under damping. Now you have to give a reason with respect to the graph. How do you write that in words? If I was writing this thing, I would write that the amplitude of the motion is seen to decrease by small fraction by small fraction, but the amplitude is not coming to a stop immediately. So it is light damping, not critical or heavy damping. So I would write both of these things, that amplitude is losing by a small part over every oscillation, and it is not becoming completely stopped right away. So I would write both of these, but maybe you don't need both of these. If you have a look at the mark scheme, it's number 9. Direction of energy of the oscillations. Direction is in amplitude or energy of oscillations due to force always opposing motion, resistive forces, any two of the above, maximum 2. Amplitude is decreasing very gradually. Oscillations should continue for a long or many oscillations. Light damping. So mentioning the light damping scores you 1 mark, which is the A1, and amplitude is decreasing very gradually. Oscillations will continue for a long time, or we are gonna have many oscillations. So they have used. You can use either of these three information to score the first mark. Yeah, makes sense. No big deal. For number B, it says use figure 2.2 to determine the frequency of vibration of the mass. Frequency is very simple. You just have a look on this figure, find out the time period, and then omega equals to 2 pi by t. That gives you the frequency in hertz. Hence, show that the initial energy of the stored in the steel strip before the mass is released is approximately 3.2 millijoule. So they are asking you to find out the maximum stored energy of the system, which is essentially possible at the initial time. The equation for maximum energy was given by what? Total energy is given by half m omega square a square. There's the expression for maximum stored energy of a system. Now you have to replace all of these values over here. M is the mass of the state of the object, which is 65 gram. We have that over here. The question is asking us for the answer to be in millijoule. So if I was doing this thing, I would actually prefer to write everything in SI unit and eventually finally use 10 to the power minus 3 and get this number, which makes it millijoule. But if you can do it in your head, and if you can keep up that you would place this as 65, which is basically gram. So you have 10 to the power minus 3 built in within that value placement. You can also do that, no big deal. So I'm going to write half into 65 divided by 1000. I'm converting this into kg. Place the value of the omega from here, omega square from here. And the initial amplitude was 1.5 centimeter. So I'm going to write 1.5 into 10 to the power minus 2 whole square. If you do hold all of this expression, we should get the answer in joule. Just make sure that you have that the value into 10 to the power minus 3 joule. Just replace the position of the decimal point, which basically makes it that much millijoule. That's all. In number C, it says after 8 complete oscillations of the mass, the amplitude of vibration is reduced from 1.5 centimeter to 1.1 centimeter. State and explain whether after a further 8 complete oscillations, the amplitude will become 0.7 centimeter. This is one of the conceptual questions that you have to understand. Have a look. What does it say? After 8 complete oscillations of the mass, the amplitude of the vibration is reduced from 1.5 centimeter to 1.1 centimeter. So over 8, initially over 8 oscillations, you had a reduction of amplitude of 0.4 centimeter. State and explain whether after a further 8 oscillations, the amplitude will be 0.7 centimeter. So whether you're going to have equal amount of decrease of amplitude over the next equal number of oscillations. The answer to this question is it wouldn't be, because the pattern of this fall of this amplitude is negative exponential. Damping equation has a negative exponential property to them. So the slower the amplitude becomes, the slower the energy loss becomes. So it keeps on losing energy at a much slower rate. So it would require a bigger number of oscillation to reach 0.7. You can either say that, or you could say that after 8 oscillations, the amplitude will be bigger than 0.7 centimeter. Why would that be? Because you have to state with an explanation. This is because the decrease of amplitude of the underdamping situation follows negative exponential rule, or you can write it follows what can I say? Uh, the amplitude actually never dies. It actually flattens out with the x-axis. It's become asymptote. I'm not sure about the wording for this. I'm gonna have a look at the Marcium, but before I do look at the Marcium, I'd like to show you with one of my on the images. Yeah. So these images are actually quite small. Uh, anyway, I could pick up any of this figure. For example, this figure would do very well for my purpose. If I have a look over here, I mean, this is a pretty nice figure. What I'm trying to show you over here is that you should see that this is a negative exponential graph. One of these expressions in this graph actually gave us this equation somewhere. Uh, there was very small. What is that? দেখলাম এই যে you can see over here that this expression is a plus a e to the power minus b divided by 2m into t. This is a type of expression that actually defines the property of these two dotted lines. You don't have to know this expression. I'm just showing you this equation to convince you of the fact that the decrease of peak crisp and the trough points of this underdamping graphs, they don't have a linear decrease, because if they did have a linear decrease, hear me out on this one, then we should see a straight line through this pattern. I mean, uh, we would have if it did have linear decrease, then we should have had this dotted line should look like this. It should eventually finish up like that. That would give us a scenario that you have equal amount of decrease over a certain amount of time, then you have equal amount of decrease over a certain amount of time. But that's not the case. The further you go, the less you lose, the less energy is lost from the system. So you have a lower, significantly lower amount of energy loss from the system. That's the whole point of underdamping. That's why the graph should theoretically never become perfectly stable. But for practical purposes, we consider a certain oscillation to be almost zero, but the oscillation is not perceived by us anymore. So that's the idea. So what kind of wording should we use? Let's look at the Marcium. This is question number 9C. It says amplitude reduces exponentially, does not really decrease linearly. You can write either of these. So it should not be 0.7 centimeter. So they only wrote this should not be 0.7 centimeter. If I was writing the answer, I would write that this would be much after eight further oscillation, it would be much bigger than 0.7 centimeter. Or you could also write 0.7 centimeter of amplitude would happen at a much bigger number of oscillations than 8 for, in the further motion. The experiment reports the minority of candidates were able to explain that the amplitude decreased by a smaller amount each oscillation. Some of the better candidates were able to describe the reduction as following: an exponential decay, but these were very few in number. Okay, there was a majority who thought there was a linear decrease in the amplitude. So maybe they were not aware of the fact that the decrease is exponential. It's just very basic experiment report. আচ্ছা, এটা সমস্যা না। I hope it makes sense. গুছা লিখতে পারতে হবে, এটা হচ্ছে মেইন জিনিস। এর পরের কোশ্চেন গুলা মোটামুটি সহজ আছে, এটাতে ঝামেলা নাই। এখানে ইলেক্ট্রোম্যাগনেটিক নিয়ে কিছু ঝামেলা আছে, ইলেক্ট্রোম্যাগনেটিক কোশ্চেন আমরা আপাতত করব না। We can attempt the oscillation question. I'd like to show you some energy graph. আচ্ছা, before I go for the energy graph, let's have a look for this this one. আচ্ছা, আমি কোশ্চেন নাম্বার 13 তোমাদের সাথে একটু আলাপ করতেছি, এটা একটু বুঝার ব্যাপার আছে। এটা নিয়ে এই সেম মডেলের কোশ্চেন পরে আরো অনেকগুলো আসবে, that there is a trolley or there is an object that is extended by two springs on two sides. So I'd like to discuss this question. The first part of the question is very simple. The definition is defining equation of simple harmonic motion is a equals to minus omega square x. Identify the symbols in this equation, a omega x. You have to write out the values, write out the definition of these variables. State the significance of the negative sign in this equation. You just have to write that both of these vector quantities would always work in opposite direction with respect to each other. Question B says a frictionless trolley of mass m is held on a horizontal surface by means of two similar springs, each of spring constant k. The springs are attached to fixed points as illustrated in figure 2.1. When the trolley is in equilibrium, the extension of each spring is E. Now, এই পার্টটা ভালো করে খেয়াল করো। When the trolley is in equilibrium, the extension of each spring is E. Try to understand that. So, when the trolley is stationary, both of the springs have some of its initial extension. It means to attach the springs over here, we have to pull the springs from the trolley part and then attached on the two fixed points. So both the springs are perfectly taut and they are at some extension scenario, and each individual spring has an extension of E. The trolley is then displaced a small distance x to the right along the axis of the spring. So then we move this trolley a little bit on the right side. Let's say we moved it by, let me use red maybe. We moved it towards right by, let's say, by a value of x. This last line is very important. You have to understand. Both springs remain extended. It means that whenever we have moved the trolley with x displacement to the right to start the oscillation, even at this displacement, both of the trolleys were extended, which means you have to understand, whenever we will move the trolley to the right, this will have a total extension of E plus x. This will have a total extension of E minus x, because now this would have the opportunity to become shorter in length, which means it is attempting to achieve its this right spring is about to achieve its natural length, but it would not, because the question says both springs remain extended, which means this E value, the initial extension of the both the springs, is bigger compared to the displacement of that we made. I mean, even when we made this x amount of displacement on the right, this spring did not come to its original length. It is still in an extended state. This is extension, this is another extension, there is also another extension, but however this is less extended because it is E minus x. This is more extended because this would be E plus x. So do you understand the idea of this idea? Do you understand the concept of this thing? That both spring remain extended means that the initial displacement, or maybe the amplitude of the motion, would be somewhat less than the original extension of the spring, which means the spring is still taut and trying to become shorter. In number one, it says so that the magnitude F of the restoring force acting on the trolley is given by this value. So this is pretty simple. You can write that force towards right equals to K into E minus X. Force toward left equals to K into E plus X. Therefore, resultant force is the subtraction of these two things. So that would be K into E minus X minus K into E plus X. K crosses out. I simply get minus 2kx in my question. So it's actually perfectly okay if I get minus, because the question so ask me the magnitude F of the force is 2kx. So I can write therefore magnitude is 2kx, and that's basically it. The question for this is this: the trolley is then released so that the acceleration on A of the trolley is given by A equals to minus 2kx by m. So you just have to divide that force expression by the mass. I automatically got a minus sign in my expression, but now we have to bring about a minus. Why is there 2 marks in this? I mean, isn't it right? F equals to ma, F equals to minus 2kx, ma equals to minus 2kx, a equals to minus 2kx by n. I cannot think of anything else, but I don't see the point of 2 marks in this question. What is this? Some kind of trap. 13b2. No, it's not a trap. It is somewhat of a trap because you have to explain the minus sign. Okay, minus sign এর কথাটা এখানে আমাদেরকে explain করতে হবে. Yeah, makes sense. So you can just write this part and then you have to write this expression and then you have to say that the minus sign actually implies that the acceleration vector and the displacement vector, they would work in opposite direction, which means acceleration will always work towards the equilibrium. You can write in many different wordings, but you the Marxium says that you have to write the significance of the minus sign, which means you can choose to write a lot of different expressions. Minus sign explained. So if we look at the exponential, where it says that b2, the derivation presented very few problems. However, it was common to find that there was no expression for the appearance of the minus sign in the expression. So you just have to write the expression of the minus sign. You can write in any set of wording. You could say that acceleration vector and displacement vector work in opposite direction, or you could write that acceleration is uh, always working towards the equilibrium, where displacement is further away from the equilibrium. You could write in either of those words, but anything that makes sense and is logically coherent is acceptable, because they didn't write any specific set of wording that how this should be explained. Anything that is not wrong would be credited. You will get marks for that. Sita also suggests why the trolley in B provides a simple model for the motion of an atom in a crystal. Suggest why the trolley in B provides a simple model for the motion of an atom in a crystal. So this is actually a bit far apart from the simple harmonic motion chapter, but it's a good question. To assume the structure of a crystal, in my opinion, the simplest model of crystal structure is, I think, sodium chloride. where you get cubic arrangement of atoms. Sodium sodium chloride, they are at the corner of each cubic position. So very simple structure. Uh, Prefer not to assume. If you are comfortable, you can also assume that tetrahedral structure for a diamond. You can go for rhombohedral structure for calcium chloride. Be my guest if you want, but I wouldn't. Sodium chloride is a very simple model to look at and deal with. The question is why this trolley motion gives us a simple model for the motion of an atom in a crystal. So in a crystal, the part any atom is fixed in a position by means of the electrostatic attraction and repulsion forces of the neighboring atoms. So whenever it tries to move to one direction, forces in the opposite direction increases. So if you try to think about the position of a sodium atom, let's say in a sodium chloride crystal, if it tries to move in one direction, it is going to be repelled by the other sodium atoms from the directions more strongly towards the equilibrium. The farther it moves away from the equilibrium, the closer it is gonna get towards the uh, sodium particle, sodium atoms of the space, and they are gonna push it back more strongly. You might wonder that it is also getting close to the chlorine atoms, so wouldn't they attract it more strongly as well? Well, the chlorine molecule atoms would attract as well, but the chlorine atoms would be there'd be one chlorine atom adjacent to it. I mean, if you try to visualize the structure for the structure, if you have one sodium over here, I mean, beside one sodium, we have only one chlorine. But on the corner of in these four corners, we actually have four sodium crystals available. So the combined repulsion force of these four sodium crystals is significantly stronger than the increase of attraction force of this chlorine. So that's how it usually works. You don't have to go into the decision like that. Uh, it's just that the atoms in the crystal, they are pushed back in the same manner as this. I cannot think of a proper wording for this. Acha, I'll try. If this question, if I was trying to answer this question, I would write it this way: atoms in a crystal are also fixed in their equilibrium position by means of molecular bond. Whenever they move apart, away, whenever they vibrate slash move away from the equilibrium position, they experience they experience increasing force as they move further away from the equilibrium and towards the equilibrium. So I'm gonna write both of this part individually. So I'm gonna write that the experience force would be more as they move further away from the equilibrium position, and the force would be always aiming towards the equilibrium position. These are the two properties I'm gonna highlight in my answer, but I'm not sure what the examiners or the marks scheme has for us. 13C. Atom held in positions by attractive forces, atom oscillates, not just two forces or 3D or 1D. Okay, force not proportional to x. Any two relevant points, one each, max 2. Atom held in position by attractive forces, okay. Atom oscillates, okay. Not just two forces or 3D. Acha. You cannot only say that atoms are held in place by only two forces, but there are actually multiple other forces involved. So you cannot say 1D. This is actually a one-dimensional scenario where all the forces are working in a single line. This is the you can assume horizontal line, but that's not the case for an atom in a structure. They are actually subjected to all the forces from all the neighboring particles, attraction and repulsion both. So you have to, if you mention that this is a three-dimensional scenario for oscillation, you score a mark for that, and then the force not proportional to x. Why is that? This is weird. Force is supposed to be proportional to x, right? If we consider the mass is constant. Okay, if we consider the mass is not constant, the force would not be proportional to x. But for a single atom, the mass is to be constant for the oscillation behavior. I mean, the motion of oscillation was not going to cause change of mass. What does the examination report have to say? There are some good suggestions based on the concept that the atoms vibrate and are held in their mean position by attractive forces. Very few suggested either that there would be more than two forces acting on the atom in a crystal or that the oscillations would be in three dimensions. That's it. Acha. I urge that you cross this out. Do not prefer to write this. Force not proportional to x. I find this to be very risky information to write. This might be the case, but I cannot figure out a way how this should be applicable for a SHM scenario in my head. I cannot. The only logical explanation is that if you consider the mass to be a variable, then it might be acceptable. But why should we consider the mass to be a variable anyway? I would never write this, and I recommend not to write this anywhere. So disregard that. I cannot come up with this. If I can come up with an acceptable solution for this or for this sentence, I would share it with you from my own. Force not proportional to x initially likhba. Right? Any other? Perfectly all right. No big deal. Question number 7. এইটা একটা খুব চমৎকার কোশ্চেন। আচ্ছা, এটা বোঝানোর জন্য আমি একটা কাজ করব। তোমাদেরকে আমি জেনারেলি একটা জিনিস দেখাই। ওকে, একটা জিনিস খেয়াল করো। Let's say this is a given graph for us for the vibration of a mass of 150 gram are simple harmonic. Figure 3.1 shows the variation with displacement x of the kinetic energy ek of the mass. This is the kinetic energy graph. On figure 3.1, draw lines to represent the variation with displacement x. For the potential energy of the vibrating mass, label this line P. The total energy of the vibration, label this line T. So total energy line is drawing the total energy line is very simple. You just have to draw a horizontal line at the peak, and you have to make sure that that line extends with the same spaces as the potential energy graph exists. So this should be the graph. This is 2.5 division over here. So start from here, and then you finish up over at this point. So just draw up a straight line through this part as best as you can, which should be tangent with this line, and halfway through these boxes. That's your total energy graph. Label this as T. And then for the potential energy graph, you have to be careful not to mess up the graph. I mean, what do I mean by that? The potential energy graph should be exactly inverted graph or the kinetic energy graph. So if you just flip this over with the halfway point, you're going to come across this graph. So you do understand that one of the, if I try to have multiple different points, that one of the point for the potential energy graph should be here. One of the point for the potential energy graph should be right over here, and our 0, 0 point should be also one of the point for the potential energy graph, which basically is all that it requires is that we need a couple of more points somewhere in between so that we can draw a smooth curve. So my recommendation is that you can directly look at this graph and have it flipped over. If you have a look over here, how many divisions do we have in the on the y-axis? I'm not asking for the exact value of the graph. Have a look on the graph. I'm going to zoom in and tell me how many divisions do we have from 0 to the crest. How many divisions? Have a look. 10, 20, 30, 35, 37 and a half. Do you see that? So in the 37 and a half divisions. So the ordhek korle if you do it half, you are gonna get 18.75, 18.5 ish. So if you look at the crossing point over here for 18 or 19 divisions, maybe, yeah, you get this is your 19th division. At 19th division, you have it somewhere over here. So you can choose that this would be another of your point for the curve. You might, if you wonder, how did I get that? Because I do know this graph should look somewhat like this. Wow, that turned out really, really well. Somewhat like this. The examiner is actually going to judge you on the choice of these points, that whether you could choose these two terminal positions, we could choose this, it went through the 0 point, and why did you actually make the crossing of this thing? Did you make it too wide or too fat, or did you make it too much too much thin? So that's what the examiner is going to look like. So if you can logically define one point on the cross point of the given graph, then it would be easier for you to draw the whole shape. So I recommend that, if you can do that, it would be very good. Definitely don't forget to label this graph. I would not label this on the close to the T. I would let's say I'm gonna label it over here P. Then the question says, calculate the angular frequency of the vibration of the mass. Calculate the angular frequency of the vibration. Now, if you are trying to find out the angular frequency, what we need, omega goes to 2 pi t. So what we are provided, we are provided with the mass of the particle. We are provided with the kinetic energy graph, which means we also have the maximum value of kinetic energy. What would be the maximum value of kinetic energy over here? Have a look. This is 12. This is 16. This should be what? 14. So this should be 15, right? The peak value. This one should be 15 millijoule from the graph. So we have this kinetic energy expression, and from that part we can actually find out the angular frequency of the vibration of the mass, because we know that Ke max is, which is basically total energy, is given by half m omega square a square. So what was the mass? 150 gram. And the amplitude over here is 5 centimeter. So that expression should give us the kinetic energy expression, or the total energy expression, and that's basically it. You place all the values with SI unit and just do the calculation, find the omega. That is not the more challenging thing. The more challenging part is a bit later. The question further says, the oscillations are now subject to damping. Explain what is meant by damping. So you just have to provide the definition for damping over here, write that up. Then comes question number 2. Have a look over here. The mass loses 20% of its vibrational energy. Use figure 3.1 to determine the new amplitude of oscillation. Explain your working. Try to understand this part. The mass loses 20% of its vibrational energy. Use figure 3.1 to determine the new amplitude of oscillation. So they have asked you to use the graph to find out a new oscillation, and we have asked you to explain your working. So we can do this in a very simple graphical method, and I'm going to explain to you why that graphical method is nice and is good to use. To do that, I'm going to bring back the graph, paste the graph once again, so that we can have a clean graph to start with. Have a look over here. This is the graph of a certain oscillating particle's motion. Now, is there a way? আচ্ছা না, এটা এখানে অ্যাকচুয়ালি পেস্ট করলে আমার কাজ হবে না, কারণ এখানে আমি ওভারল্যাপিং করে পেস্ট করতে পারবো না। Might as well cut that. For MS Paint, the old savior. আচ্ছা, আমি এটা এখানে পেস্ট করলাম একটা কারণে, সেটা হচ্ছে যখন আমাদের সিম্পল সিস্টেম ড্যাম্পিং হবে, ড্যাম্পিং হলে কি হবে, আমাদের পিক এনার্জিটা আস্তে আস্তে কমে যাবে। তার মানে আমাদের এই this entire curve is gonna maintain its original shape. If you wonder why it should maintain its original shape, because this curve is explained with a single equation. Try to understand that. What is the defining equation of this curve? The defining equation of this curve is half m omega square a square minus s square. এটা হচ্ছে আমাদের এই কার্ভের ডিফাইনিং ইকুয়েশন। This is the kinetic energy curve. That's the expression for this curve. Now, if you slowly x in this case is the variable that কতটুকু অসিলেশন হচ্ছে। এখন আমাদের ম্যাক্সিমাম অ্যাম্পলিটিউডটা যদি ছোট হয়ে আসে, সিম্পলি আমাদের এই ভ্যালুটা যদি এদিকে কমে আসবে, আমাদের এই পিকটা আস্তে আস্তে ছোট হয়ে আসবে। But the defining equation would pretty much remain the same. I mean, you have the same value of m, you have the same value of omega square a square, so which would mean you would have the same shape of the graph. Only your values are gonna become smaller, and they're gonna become smaller in the very same equation, which tells us that whenever the total energy of the graph is gonna become smaller, have a look, বুঝো আমি কি করতেছি। This is gonna happen. Let's say this is the original case. This is the original case. Now, as the energy of the system is going to reduce, the peak is going to slowly become less. So I'm slowly trying to drag the copied graph down. And what you should see, as the crest over here is becoming lower than this, the cutoff point of the behind graph or of the original graph is also becoming less. You can see that initial distortion was up to this much, from here all the way up to the 5 centimeter mark. But now the new graph, which is the lower one, is cutting at a bit smaller length than the 5 centimeter mark. This is your 5 centimeter mark. I cannot actually choose to draw here, because in that case I cannot pull it down any further. If we do pull it even further, this should become even more visible to you. So the point that I'm trying to give you is that we're going to have the same exact shape of the graph, because the defining equation is same, only our limiting values are going to become slightly different. So it comes to aid if we can somehow reverse this procedure and use it for our benefit. So I'm just showing you over here that how would the new graph look like if we had slowly losing energy from the system. So the whole graph is going to simply become down, and you're simply going to have, let's say, this much segment around the x-axis, or even less, over oscillations as the damping keeps on happening. This is how it's going to work out. The question is asking us, let's delete that. The mass loses 20% of its vibrational energy. Use figure 3.1 to determine the new amplitude of oscillation. So there are two different ways to judge a graph that is going to become lower. One of the ways is that we can choose to observe the entire curve becoming down by 20% of its initial value, which means what? Which means basically means currently how many divisions did we have? We had 37.5 divisions, right? So 80% of 37.5 division হলে কত হয়? দেখো এটা ক্যালকুলেটরে কত হয়? আমার ক্যালকুলেটর কই? 37.5 into 0.8 কত হয়?
30.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
আচ্ছা, so এটা আসে হচ্ছে exactly 30 division. This means that we have to now judge a curve which should have from the 0 point a vertical height of 30 divisions. Let's say which is should be over here. এখন এই গ্রাফটা এইভাবে প্রপারলি শিফট করা মানে হচ্ছে আমাকে সবগুলো পয়েন্টই কতটুকু করে নামাইতে হবে, কতটুকু করে। এখানে তোমার দেখো ড্রপ হচ্ছে কতটুকু। So I mean, if I place it once again, I now have to visualize the graph. I should visualize the graph. Let's say this was my original graph. Now I should preferably try to figure out that if this crest actually comes up to this level, are you seeing this? Then where should this cross point happen? That's my question. So that's one way to do this. But there is an easier way to do this. Easier way to say, how about other than lowering this entire curve down, we lift up the x-axis by that same amount, which means, let's say I can see that by my calculation, if the system loses 20% of its vibrational energy, then 80% of the energy should be within the system, which means the new graph should have a vertical height of 30 division. Other than lowering the graph, how about I reduce the graph from the downside? So let's say, what if I bring my x-axis 7.5 division above? So if I do that, let's say this is my 7.5 divisions over here. If I try to draw a straight line through this point, maybe with red, first a straight line, not very straight, then placement. If I draw it over here, then you should understand that if this new line that I'm drawing over here was my x-axis, then the entire graph that exists above this new red line is basically my remaining energy. And because now currently this much vertical line represents 80% of the original 15 joule. So other than lowering the whole graph, I'm preferring to observe the graph with lifted up x-axis, because this is the graphically this is the same mechanism. This is a bit reversed, but this is easier for us to do because we don't have to judge for the whole curve to change shape. We just have to consider the horizontal level or the x-axis to be a bit up. How does this help? If you observe it at this level, you're going to find out this cross point very easily. And now simply find out how much is this displacement from the equilibrium. So 0 থেকে এইটুকু নতুন ডিসপ্লেসমেন্টের ভ্যালু কত হবে বলো তো? এই এইটুকু পর্যন্ত ভ্যালু কত হবে? This is 4, this is 5, so this should be how much? I think 4.5.
Yes, sir.
ঠিক আছে? So that gives you the advantage for using the graphical method, that you just have to accommodate in your drawing that how much of the remaining energy is available and try to draw it from the peak downwards, not from the 0 point upward. Because if you wanted to do that, we would rather have to draw the whole curve and then we should have to explain. But that is very difficult to do. It's not impossible, but for a hand-drawn scenario, that's a pretty difficult scenario compared to drawing a straight line and coming up with your answer. Do you understand how this conversion happened? I mean, how did this 80% actually could represent this much in a vertical division? You have to see, I did not do my calculation over here in terms of joule or millijoule. I used divisions because I wanted to shift the axis. By how many divisions do I want to move it? That was my preferred way of working, because I wanted to move it up by the necessary number of divisions. বুঝা গেছে কি এই প্রসিডিউরটা everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So if we go back to whiteboard, all right. So if I am trying to answer this question, they say explain your working, I would write just this much, that I would write it this way. I would write this much, and I would draw a horizontal line over at the relevant location and write the answer. That's my explanation. If you want, you can show it in terms of calculation of energy, but I would not bother for energy calculation. But we're definitely going to look at the mark scheme, how they appreciate to see this. This was 14C2. Okay. Either now has 80% of its P or K, or 12 millijoule, or loss in K equals to 3 millijoule, new amplitude for 1 centimeter, L plus or minus 0.1 centimeter. So they are looking for the 80% value implementation. So I'm gonna get the first mark in my opinion, although I'm not doing that in terms of energy. The examiner said answers were in general disappointing. Answers were in general disappointing. Despite giving a correct expression in B, the majority of candidates assume that in order to calculate the new amplitude, in order to calculate the new amplitude, then amplitude would be proportional to total energy, which means that they assumed from this equation that, they assume, as per the examiner, but they assume that this curve is given by half m omega square x square, which was not the case. This is not that curve. No, this equation is for the P graph. This curve is actually given by half m omega square a square minus x square. So this is not done that way. Okay, I get the point of the examiner's disappointment. But do you understand how this was done? Clearly বুঝা গেছে কিনা? I hope so.
Yep.
আচ্ছা, এরপরের কোশ্চেন দেখি আমরা। এগুলা মোটামুটি বুঝুং ভাজুং। এখানে আমাদের সিমিলার একটা কোশ্চেন আছে, এই কোশ্চেনটা খেয়াল করো। Number 17 the figure 3.2 shows the variation of distance x from the equilibrium position of the kinetic energy of the mass. Use figure 3.2 to determine the distance d through which the mass was displaced initially. So d এর ভ্যালুটা দেখাইতে হবে। Show that the frequency of oscillation of the mass is approximately 4 Hz. So ওইটা খুব easily possible, ওই যে mass kinetic energy থেকে frequency বের করে দেখাবা। এরপর বিতে বলছে on figure 3.2 draw a line to represent the total energy of the oscillating mass. So you just draw the horizontal line that is tangent with the crest. After many oscillations, the damping reduces the total energy of the mass to 1 millijoule. This is very important. Read the question very carefully. If this question was by 1 millijoule, we would have a totally different answer. After many oscillations, the damping reduces the total energy to 1 millijoule. For the oscillations with reduced energy, state the frequency and state using the graph or otherwise state the amplitude. Or otherwise টা কি সেটা আমি একটু এখানে এক্সপ্লেইন করব। What is the or otherwise? The first thing is amplitude would remain the same because damping does not change the amplitude of the system unless the question says there is a significant change of the mass of the system, which was not the case over here. This was an underdamped situation. So which the amplitude figure, the frequency of the system would just be the same. So whatever you calculate over here, just write that 4.0 is perfectly okay. You export this number. Now the question says after many oscillations, damping reduces the total energy of the mass to 1 millijoule, which means currently we are trying to look out for a curve where the crest should be at 1 millijoule. বুঝতেছো? মানে আমাদের এখন এরকম একটা কার্ভ দেখতে পারার কথা, যে এরকম একটা কার্ভ দেখতে পারার কথা, এরকম একটা কার্ভের এই ক্রস পয়েন্টগুলো কি হবে সেটা আমাদেরকে বাই করতে বলছে। So we are definitely gonna do that. So but we are not going to drop that curve over here. Rather, we are going to try to draw a horizontal line, which is going to give us the similar representation of 1 millijoule. Now have a look very clearly. How many vertical divisions in the graph gives me 1 millijoule? How many vertical divisions between these 2 points? Anyone?
20.
20 divisions. Beautiful. So all that I would do is I'm gonna draw from this point. I'd count 20 divisions down and draw a horizontal line to represent exactly 1 millijoule within that gap. So I need to draw a curve over here. Rather than that, I'm gonna try to draw an x-axis 20 division below the peak position, representing 1 millijoule of amount of energy within that length. So here we have one division right over here. So this is one. So if we go 10, 20, one division less somewhere over here, I should draw my straight line right over here. Might be a bit difficult on the MS whiteboard. You don't have to write it on both sides, but if I was doing it with a ruler, I'll preferably draw it on both sides anyway, which gives me a perfect cross point of 0.5. Happens to be perfectly plotted, which is good. If it wasn't, I would have to just find out the scale and calculate it out for me. So I would draw this straight line over here, and that would be self-explanatory for the examiners that I knew what to do. Examiners would know that you did it from the graph. So that's the way how you can do it from the graph. Now, if you wonder that how this can be done with the otherwise, what is the otherwise process? What is the otherwise process? The otherwise process is very simple. Let me show you. This question has already given us the mass of the oscillating system. Have a look. The figure given us the mass of the oscillating system, 130 gram. Whenever the new energy will become, so we know omega, we know the mass of the system. All that we are trying to find out what would be the new amplitude for a lower energy level. So if you consider the total energy expression is given by what? Half m omega square a square. Other than doing this whole shebang with the graph, you can also calculate it in this manner. Right at the lower energy that you want to calculate it for, 1.0 to the power minus 3. This is the new energy that you have. It was reduced to 1 millijoule. And then you just place all these numbers. Half into 0.15. What is it? Was it 0.15? 0.13. 0.130, 130 gram. And you place the value of omega square, which is about 4 hertz, as I have seen over here. So there's a 4.0 squared. And this a square is your new amplitude. You can also calculate this value for this from this equation. That's also possible. That's the otherwise way. That if you don't want to use a graph, but if you have all the variables available to you, this is what you can do. However, if you didn't have these variables available to you, let's say you did not know mass, you did not know omega, you are only provided with this graph and only told, only asked to calculate the find out the amplitude whenever the system has a total energy of 1.0 millijoule. What about then? Then the graphical way is the only way. If you don't have access to any of these numbers, but if you have that graph, you can still be able to calculate what would be the new amplitude if you know how to handle it graphically. So it's important that you understand this procedure. And I also showed you the alternative method for any case. If you find this is needed, you can also adopt that as well. Not very much needed, but it's important. The other thing that I would really like to point out over here, what if, just what if, this preposition was by? What would be our answer?
x-axisটা শিফট করব উপরে
I'm sorry,
x-axisটা তখন উপরে শিফট করতাম
কতটুকু?
1 মিলিমিটার
Precisely. So I want you to understand that we have to consider a scenario that for the oscillations, if the total energy reduces by 1 millijoule, you have to have a grasp on this. If the total energy of the system reduced by 1 millijoule, then the new energy would be 1 millijoule less of the original maximum energy. So this was the original maximum energy value, and then the horizontal line should be drawn right exactly here. So the reduction amount is now 1 millijoule. The main question was told us that it was the original amount of energy is 1 millijoule. That's why for the blue line over this part I represented 1 millijoule. But if the question was the amount reduced by 1 millijoule, then the loss should be 1 millijoule. These are not the same thing. This is the amount of energy remaining. This is the amount of energy lost. Do you understand? Bolaman. Be careful for the preposition. This can prove to be tricky unless you are careful to read out the question carefully. আচ্ছা এরপর হচ্ছে সুইং মেশিনের প্রবলেম, এটা আমরা লাস্ট ক্লাসে করছিলাম। আচ্ছা এটা তোমরা ট্রাই করলে পারবা, না পারলে আমি পরে দেখাই দিব। এই কোশ্চেনটা একটু ডিফিকাল্ট আছে, আই এম লিভিং ইট ফর ইউ। আচ্ছা let's try this question number 22, cylinder and piston. Okay. To make sense with you how this question is going to work out, I hope we have a figure of an actual cylinder piston mechanism in this question or somewhere. Do we not? We do not. Why is that? Should have that somewhere. Powers. Let's have a look at this figure and try to understand how this whole thing works. Hold on. Have a look at this thing. This is how a typical crank engine work, or a typical engine, petrol engine, diesel engine works. This is a cylinder where we have a piston. This piston within the cylinder can move linearly. It can go up and down. This is connected to a circular rotary mechanism with a single piece of rod, in this case, which is this thing. And we have two pivots over here, which are basically working like hinges. As this wheel will rotate, this piston is going to go up and down. Try to understand. The rotational motion of this wheel is going to convert it into linear motion of this piston. So if this P position is let me draw. Whenever this P position, this pivot is exactly over here, let's say at this position, then this will be the highest position of the piston. When this pivot P point is at the lowest position, and this will be the lowest position of the piston. Along somewhere along the level of the diameter, over here or over here, the piston would be in equilibrium. If it is on the left side, the piston will be going down. If it is on the right side, the piston will be going up, because the arrow shows this is an anti-clockwise motion. So basically, as this thing goes around in anti-clockwise circles like that, this thing keeps on moving up and down like that. এই আইডিয়াটা বোঝা যাচ্ছে কিনা? The circular motion of this thing is converted into piston motion like that. Now, এটা আমি কেন বললাম, কারণ অনেকে হয়তো এটা জানতা না বা না জেনে থাকতে পারো, সেটার কোনো সমস্যা না, so that we can actually visualize better the problem that we have, that we are about to solve right now. which is question number 22. Let's have a look. It says a cylinder and piston used in a car engine are illustrated in figure 3.1. Piston, cylinder. The vertical motion of the piston in the cylinder is assumed to be simple harmonic. The top surface of the piston is at AB when it is at its lowest position and is at CD when it is at its highest position as marked in figure 3.1. So what the question is already telling us, this is the highest position of the piston. This is the lowest position of the piston. This should be that this total distance should be 2a. If this is the highest, this is the lowest, somewhere exactly in the middle we should have the equilibrium. So this gap should be twice the amplitude. The distance d of the position may be represented by the equation d equals to minus 4.0 cos 220 t, where d is measured in centimeter. D in this case is representing the distance. And I have a look over here. They've used a cosine ratio starting with a negative number, which means at t equals to 0, বুঝা যাচ্ছে কি বলতেছি? When the observation started, the object started from the negative amplitude part. So এখন ফ্যান নিয়ে ঝামেলা করো না প্লিজ, ফ্যানে যাও না এখন। টুলটা এনে দিতে হবে, এই যে এখানে আছে, এখানে দেন দেন দেন। আচ্ছা, sorry. So this much distance is 2a, and because this equation is a minus cos curve, minus cos equation, which means when the time observation started, the motion started from minus a position. This is important. This is going to be helpful for us right after a while. So the question says further, state the distance between the lowest position AB and the highest position CD of the top surface of the piston. So this 4 is over here. So if we have a look over here, this equation is actually d equals to minus a cos omega t. So this 4.0 over here measured in centimeter should be our amplitude. So in this case, a equals to 4.0 centimeter. So between AB and CD, this should be exactly 8.0 centimeter. এরপর বলছে determine the number of oscillations made per second by the piston. So this is actually omega. This is 220. This is omega, and we are asked to calculate oscillations made per second, which is basically frequency. So omega equals to 2 pi f. So f would be equals to omega divided by 2 pi, which is 220 divided by 2 pi. Whatever the number that you get, you write that over here. Next, it says on figure 3.1, draw a line to represent the top surface of the piston in the position where the speed of the piston is maximum. So basically, they're asking you to draw the equilibrium position. So you just draw this horizontal line at the middle, measure it up. The actual figure might not be 8 centimeter, so you just try to measure it up and find out the midpoint using a ruler. Whatever the given length is, figure might not be drawn to scale. In many cases, it is they are not. And draw a horizontal line through the mid level of these two given AB and CD levels. Then it says calculate the maximum speed of the piston. Maximum speed formula খুব simple. Vmax equals to omega A. Place the value of omega 220. Amplitude is this thing. Have a look at the unit. What is the unit they are expecting? They are expecting in centimeter per second. So don't convert the amplitude to meter. You don't have to. Place it as is and find out the speed of the maximum speed of the piston. That's all. This is the question for which I'm really interested about. Number B, have a look. The engine of a car has several cylinders. 3 of these cylinders are shown in figure 3.2. X, Y, and Z. They didn't mention which one this is. Okay. Acha, already can bole this, sorry. X is the same cylinder. আর একটু জুম আউট করা লাগবে আমার, আশা লাগবে পুরোটা। এবার ঠিক আছে। X is the same cylinder as and piston as figure 3.1. So this is the first question. This is the scenario that we have worked upon. Y and Z are two further cylinders with the lowest and the highest point of the top positions of each piston indicated. So they have already given us these two levels. The pistons in the cylinders each have the same frequency of oscillation, but they are not in phase, which means they would have the same type of repeated back and forth motion, but their motion would not be perfectly in phase, which means they're gonna have non-synchronized same period motion. In cylinder Y, the oscillations of the piston lead those of piston X in cylinder X by a phase angle of 120 degree. Complete the diagram of cylinder Y for this instant by drawing a line to show the top surface of this piston and arrow to show the direction of movement for this piston. এই কোশ্চেন আমরা বুঝি সিলিন্ডার Y এর মোশন সিলিন্ডার X এর মোশন থেকে 120 ডিগ্রি লিডিং। আমাদেরকে এই Y পজিশনে Y সিলিন্ডারের গায়ের উপরে একটা সার্টেন লাইন আঁকতে হবে টু রিপ্রেজেন্ট দ্য মোস্ট লাইকলি পজিশন অফ দ্য পিস্টন when AB is at the lowest position. এই ইনস্ট্যান্টের জন্য এই সিলিন্ডারের পিস্টনটা 120 ডিগ্রি লিডিং কন্ডিশনে কোথায় থাকবে সেটা আমাদেরকে আঁকতে বলছে। কোশ্চেনটা কি বুঝতেছো বলবান? এখন এটা আঁকা খুব ডিফিকাল্ট না, টু বি অনেস্ট এটা আঁকা কোয়াইট ইজি। কেন ইজি সেটা আমি বলতেছি। You have to understand, I mean, আমি এটা তোমাদেরকে দুইভাবে এক্সপ্লেন করার চেষ্টা করব। একটা হচ্ছে জাস্ট বাই মেজারমেন্ট, আর একটা হচ্ছে গ্রাফিক্যাল। Let me try to give you a bit of an idea. This piston, whenever it goes all the way up to CD and comes back all the way up to AB, it undergoes a total phase of 360 degree. So whenever it goes from AB to CD only, this much would be 180 degree. ঠিক না? In its oscillation graph, when this piston moves from AB to CD, the total phase angle it covers is 180 degree. এটা কি বুঝো? বলবান এই ইনফরমেশনটা কি বুঝায়?
আবার বলবেন?
If this cylinder starts from AB, goes all the way up and comes all the way down, I mean it reaches back to the AB position, the total amount of phase angle it covers in its oscillation is 360 degree. And if it only reaches up to CD, half the motion going from the trough position all the way to the crest position, the total amount of phase angle it covers is 180 degree. এটা কি বুঝো কিনা? মানে এখান থেকে এই পর্যন্ত হচ্ছে 180 ডিগ্রি, আবার এখান থেকে এই পর্যন্ত নামলে হচ্ছে another 180 ডিগ্রি, মোট মিলে হচ্ছে 360 ডিগ্রি টোটাল ফেজ অ্যাঙ্গেল। এই জিনিসটা বুঝো। তো এই জিনিসটা যদি আমরা গ্রাফে দেখাইতে যাই, গ্রাফে দেখালে কিভাবে দেখাতে পারবো? এই অবজেক্টের the defining equation for this cylinder was given in minus cos curve. So if you do draw a minus cos curve, this is going to look like this. Let's start from here. So এইখান থেকে এইটুকু পর্যন্ত হচ্ছে 180 ডিগ্রি, আর এখান থেকে এইটুকু পর্যন্ত হচ্ছে another 180 ডিগ্রি, মোট মিলে হচ্ছে 360 ডিগ্রি। এটা হচ্ছে ওয়ান অসিলেশন, ঠিক না? I'm drawing for X. Now the question says this piston is 120 degree leading of that. It means where this piston was 120 degree earlier than this, we have to find that. This piston is leading. It means when this piston is at lowest position, this piston was 120 degree less of coming to the lowest position. Do you get my point? It
Yes,
is
sir.
leading, y is leading x means it is about to reach this, the condition of piston x. It hasn't gone through. So 120 degree earlier আমাদের পজিশনটা কোথায় হতে পারে? দেখো, try to visualize. এই ডাউনওয়ার্ড মোশন পুরোটুকু যদি 180 ডিগ্রি হয়, তাহলে হাফওয়ে মোশন হবে হচ্ছে 90 ডিগ্রি। It means if it, this much backward, I mean, when the if y is over here, then this would be 90 degree leading. To be 120 degree leading, it has to be somewhere between the midpoint and the CD point, somewhere in between. So somewhere in the upper half. Technically, if we go for mathematical representation, it's going to be exactly half. So this would be the direction, this would be the position for the piston of cylinder Y, which is 120 degree leading of X, which means it has to cover a bit more of 120 degree to reach up to what? Reach up to the position of X.
3/4 কম হবে না
বুঝি নাই।
মানে ফার্স্ট তো হাফ কভার করলো 180 মানে 90 ডিগ্রিজ তারপরে তো তারপরে এটা 3 তারপরে মানে হাফের কম হবে না লাইক 3/4 কম হবে না
তো নট কোয়াইট, বলতেছি কেন, কারণ হচ্ছে তোমার দেখাই হচ্ছে -1, cos 60 equals to হচ্ছে half. আর cos 30 হচ্ছে 1/4.
আচ্ছা বুঝতে লাইক এক্স্যাক্টলি এসে হবে এক্স্যাক্টলি হাফ
হ্যাঁ
3/4 পজিশনে হবে না
বুঝছো?
হ্যাঁ স্যার বুঝছি
বিউটিফুল বিউটিফুল, বুঝলে ঠিক আছে। So এটা হবে এই পজিশনে, and because this piston is leading to that one, so this should be going downwards. So the question says that a line to show the top surface of the piston and arrow to show the direction of the motor of the piston. This is my understanding, but I'll have a look at the mark scheme what they have to say about this. This is question number, এটা আমার প্রায় ক্লাসে দেখা যায়, এটা আমি এক্সপ্লেইন করার পরে কিছুটা মেস আপ করছি, তারপর আবার এক্সপ্লেনেশন আবার রিভার্ট করে আবার রি-এক্সপ্লেইন করতে হয়। আগে হইছে এরকম। I hope this time it's okay. Yes, I messed up. Arrow pointing upwards. Oh. এটা এখন কেমনে সলভ করব? Ah, I got the position correct, but I have the arrow opposite. So I'm pretty sure I have messed up the explanation of this word. What would actually physically happen when some oscillation is leading to some oscillation. So yeah, আমি এই জিনিসটা তোমাদের নেক্সট ক্লাসে আবার ক্লিয়ার করব। I got the position right, but I got the arrow wrong. মার্ক স্কিমে বলছে হচ্ছে the arrow for B1 should be pointing upwards, but for my explanation it is appearing to show up in the downwards. So I have definitely messed up the physical meaning of this word leading, so would like to look into it. যেটা বললাম এটা যে এটা প্রায়ই আমার মেস আপ হয়, পরে আবার জিনিসটা আবার গুছায় আবার রিএক্সপ্লেন করতে হয়। এটা আগেও হয়েছে আবার এখানেও হচ্ছে। সো আই হ্যাভ এ পার্মানেন্ট প্রবলেম ইন মাই ব্রেন ফর দিস ওয়ার্ড। আচ্ছা, নেক্সট ক্লাসে আমি তোমাদেরকে এই জিনিসটা বুঝাবো, সেটা হচ্ছে পরশুদিন বুধবার। আর হচ্ছে এখান থেকে আবার পরের ক্লাস শুরু করবো। তোমরা এই ওয়ার্কশিটটা করতে থাকো, যে যেখানে আমি তো অনেকগুলো প্রবলেমের সলিউশন দেখাই দিলামই, আর তারপর মাঝখানে যে প্রবলেমগুলো আছে সেগুলো ট্রাই করো। If you get stuck anywhere, we'll pick them up on Wednesday, inshallah. Thank you. আসসালামু আলাইকুম। আমি এটা পড়াশোনা করবো, পড়াশোনা করে তোমাদের নেক্সট ক্লাসে আবার পুরো আমাদের ভালো মতো বুঝাবো, গ্রাফ দিয়েও বুঝাবো, ফিজিক্যালিও বুঝাবো, ডোন্ট ওয়ারি। ঠিক আছে, আল্লাহ হাফেজ।
আল্লাহ হাফেজ।
Allah Hafiz.